Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Guess what? We forgot to make sure that we had enough space to even do the recording. So I had to go into a Mac just real quick, free up some space on StreamYard there. So I apologize for the little bit of the delay there. But hey, we are going to be talking conspiracies, secret societies, and covering the book Conspiracies and Secret Societies, the complete dossier of hidden plots and schemes. This was originally written by Brad and Sherry Steiger, I think, or Steiger. And hopefully I got that right. They sadly, they've passed away, but we have Kevin Hile on with us. He's the editor that was in charge of the team of updating this for this third edition. And so they went through there and kind of updated in the last 10 years, the things that have either, what's changed, what has been added, what has been proven false. So they kind of went through there and just updated the book. It's fantastic. I mean, it's literally an encyclopedia of conspiracies and secret societies. I mean, it's a really cool book. It's a great reference for anybody, especially that's doing shows, that it's right here at your fingertips. This is a book that is fantastic. It's by Visible Ink Press. And like I said, I do highly recommend picking up this book. This one's great. And so Kevin Hile is with us tonight, and he is next.
Welcome to the Three Beards Podcast. My name's Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, Chris, waiting on Austin. I'm not sure where he's at, so he's tardy. So hopefully the ginger one will be joining us. But at this time, let's bring on Kevin Hile. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good. Sitting here in California, it's still sunny.
Yes, and we're here in Florida, and it is
dark.
Not sunny. It is dark, but we're 81 degrees. We got palm trees as well, but I said it's nice. So it's one of those. We're kind of on both sides. Is it SoCal? Is that where you guys are?
Yeah, I'm in Cathedral City.
Okay, yeah. So so you got nice weather too. That's pretty much year round. I mean, it's Armageddon for you guys. Is like 30, 40 degrees, just like us.
Yeah.
And so it's we're pretty similar. We're pretty similar in climates. There's areas over here, like in the Orlando area. We were driving over there by Millennium Mall, and I looked over here. I'm like, this feels just like Southern California. We're going by the county prison. I'm seeing the way the trees look and the landscape. I'm like, this looks exactly like the LA area. This is just crazy, but so we brought you on. So editor of this book. Now you do a lot for Visible Ink, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the managing editor. Yes.
Yeah. Was this one that was just, I guess the best way to put it, were you told to do this? Did you offer to do this? How did that transpire to where it's just like, Kevin, this needs to be updated. So how did that happen?
I'm the managing editor of all their books. So, yeah.
So it was kind of your idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
Well, welcome everybody to the show. As I said, it's nice seeing everybody there. Yeah, this one, did in the intro. It's kind of hard to show. I'm like pick there. I like the way it's just like an encyclopedia. It's
Yeah.
done. Each one is by the letter, and you go through. There's tons of photos. It's all broken down into just different segments. This
It
from
covers a lot. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I said, everything from Adolf Hitler to Mothman to the Illuminati to, I mean, you go down the list. This is a complete. I mean, it's just. I mean, they have everything. Just the catheters, the Council on Foreign Relations. I mean, if you have some show prep or you have questions about this stuff, this is actually a book to have. I mean, this is really cool, and it's not one of those like, it's just those crazy conspiracies. No, this is actually when you're doing research. I mean, the JFK assassination talks about it right here.
Yeah, it's I mean, it goes back to medieval times all the way to January 6th insurrection. So, we're covering centuries here. And it's everything from stuff that's going in religious societies, racist societies, political conspiracies, mysterious murders, aliens.
And we'll just show this. We're not going to say it because as soon as you do, stupid Facebook decides to pop you for doing it.
Yeah.
It's what, but yeah, you have. It's going to be a broken record for me, but I said that just because I want people. I can't stress enough for people. It's like this is a book to pick up. I mean, this is one that I've actually, since I've got this book, I've actually used it for a couple of our shows already.
Oh yeah. Oh great.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, when I tell people, I go, I can't stress this enough. I mean, it is, like I said, because it's literally you want to know something like UFOs, Roswell. I mean, you just go down the thing. I mean, it's just boom. It's right at your fingertips. You don't have to go. It's you have you do all that stuff, but at the same time, it's literally right here. Photos, everything. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's the classic stuff, Roswell and all that stuff, all the way up to, the recent video footage of the naval pilots that took the video of the UFOs and stuff that the government finally kind of admitted, yeah, we don't know what the hell that is,
Yeah, those are some of the ones, like when you get into some of these conspiracies that that they do know what it is. But this is the part that they want to release. I mean, it's always like the breadcrumbs, like distract. If you throw this out here, I've used it in several shows. This magician's hand. You want them to look at this hand. You don't want them to look over here at what you're actually doing, where you're actually doing the changeover. You don't want to see that. So what you do is you throw out this picture, the tic tac. And you have this information. People are so focused on the Tic Tac footage that they're not understanding that this, there's other stuff going on. This was just the one that, they're throwing you just enough meat on a bone to get all the dogs to just pounce on it.
I still think it's pretty big that they actually showed it and everything,
Yeah, I mean, who was shocked when finally you go from Project Blue Book of no, it's swamp gas, it's owls,
it's not a weather balloon.
Yeah, weather balloons, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't know what it is, and you're like, wait, what? And you're like, yeah, no, we don't know what it is. It's right here. I mean, I've been with a few people talking, and they think it's one of those just across the board, because there was always that thing of because people would they really mocked Donald Trump when he announced Space Force and show all this stuff. They just started laughing, and it says there's a really good chance that the reason it was done is you've got to legitimize what's actually going to be announced in the future, and it's like you have to set the groundwork. You can't say that we've had troops in space and then it could claim, no, we don't have it, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, by the way, we have a ship up there loaded with guys that we've been telling you have been dead for years. You have to have something like a framework to fall on, and I think that's what it was. I mean, I really think that was the start of that, and that's
things branch off. I mean, the Air Force and was part of the Navy, and then they branched off into the Air Force. So it makes sense that eventually you'll get a Space Force. So just natural evolution.
Yeah, it was one of those. I really, I mean, it was making fun of it, but the Steve Carell, I think it was Netflix that had it.
That was a good show. I like
That was a good show. That was funny. I, you know, I, I loved the part where they're just all the things that were going wrong in space.
Yeah.
Just the Chinese, and
The
they're
Chinese are
sabotaging
shooting
each
it.
other. Oh, it just, I think the best one was my favorite episode was the monkey.
Oh,
That was up there in space that they're trying to get it to save the ship, and it's just it's it's just the whole the whole thing around it was overtly mocking, like I said, it mocked Donald Trump in the presidency, but it was just like it still at the same time it was a fantastic funny show. I mean, that one's fun to watch too.
Yeah.
But so back on this, so as you're going through the book,
Mm-hmm.
what was the one? We could go either conspiracy or secret society. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. What was the one that I think kind of piqued your interest the most? As you're going through it, you're like, man, I really actually enjoyed the research aspect of that.
Well, I just I like her events, so I like the entries on January 6th and Jeffrey Epstein and the more recent stuff that's happening. I like keep the Steigers gave us such a solid base, and then we added and updated 60 entries on it. So just keeping it current, that was important. There's everything from Molly McGuire's and Marilyn Monroe, and I like reading about the things like the Rosicrucians and the religious societies and that sort of thing. So
yeah, those ones are
QAnon's in here too. That's an important update. There's just so much stuff happening now that it's important to put in the book.
Oh yeah, that was why it was so cool that you guys did an update for it too, because as new information's come out on all these things. I mean, we just did a show on MK Ultra. This is in here. It just.
We're actually working on a book that will be dedicated to MK Ultra eventually. So just one book on all that.
All right, I'm intrigued already. I like it.
So I haven't had a chance to read the book yet, but so in your editing and your research over time, I just can't. Me being a Freemason, I can't understand why everybody wants to group Freemasonry with Illuminati. I mean, do you think that it connects somewhere up the chain that us poor Masons would never know about, or it's only on a higher level that you might run into Illuminati? But I've been a Mason since 2003, and I've never seen where it crossed paths, in my personal opinion. So I just want to get your take on that.
I think, well, as in life, I think everything's connected. I think if you follow the history, that the Illuminati eventually leads to QAnon. So they're all kind of connected. I think you'll see that a little bit if you read the book. So
help with the comment.
Here we are.
Yep. Sorry, talking to the producer there. I was getting his help with the comments. The comments are really going crazy on the thing, and I'm not able to keep up with them. That's one of those. That's always been the thing. We talk about that all the time, especially with Chris. It's like the Freemasons. I go, I'm still the believer that a majority of the people that are in the thing are just there for, just like I said, the camaraderie. They're just there, the secret handshakes. They go to the meetings, they do stuff. But there's the ones that are in the know, the ones that actually have that are the behind the scenes. It's maybe this is the Dan Brown, thing from reading the books, but I'm convinced that there's that one room that you have to know, you have to know the people to get into. And it's like, everybody's like, there's no room. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about your broom closet. I'm talking about that, the temple, one of the old ones where there is that room that only the select few get to, go in.
There are people, if you read the entries on the Bilderberg Society, the Bohemian Grove people that meet these, presidents and CEOs and stuff that are meeting in secret. It's a club, and we don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly, that was passed. You have Alex Jones in here too, and that's always been one of his things. Is You know, the Bohemian Grove, you know, everybody remembers the episode, especially the, you know, you're kind of in that neck of the woods too, you know, California. It's so everybody's that you get out there and you see him on the road there. It's just like the elites are back over here, you know, you know, they go crazy. And it's just, and that's always just been, I think everybody's imagination runs wild because you're just, especially with conspiracies and secret societies, there's always just that thing like, I want to know. It could be nothing. I mean, it could just be the elite just having a cocktail party and just getting their freak on. And that's all it is. But there's, you know, but there's those people that come up with a thing that they're eating gold foiled covered babies. You know, and that,
well,
you know, it's just.
I think it's interesting. I always forget her name. You might remember this a few years ago. It was like this 12-year-old girl for a school project. She did research on U.S. presidents and found that all but like 2 of them were related in some way, cousins, second cousins.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that, and that's that's crazy. It's just so honestly, by extrapolating that too, couldn't you find that tree and then you basically could, you know, you could just make some money, just like betting. It's like, you know, when you see the 2 candidates come up here and you realize that the Democrat candidate's the one that's actually related, and you're just betting everybody, yeah, they're gonna win. Like, no way. I'm like, oh yeah, trust me, they're gonna win. I take money from people, and then when they come back, it's like, how'd you know? I just got a gift. I got a gift.
Donald Trump was a surprise because
I
remember the story where President Obama was giving a speech at like the DNC or something, and Hillary was there. And according to what I heard, he whispered in her ear, "You're next." And she wasn't, and that freaked people out.
Well, and that's, it's funny you said that, because we talked about that too. It's like, I'm convinced she was supposed to win.
She was the anointed one, yes.
Yeah, and then, but us stupid Americans decided that we didn't want to go with the global plan, and we decided, you know, for some odd reason, we decided to pick our own candidate instead of the one that was selected, and that's why I go. You can see, it's like, this is the first time. I mean, just, you know, there was people that were upset at Bush Gore, you know, when you had that election, but I've never seen the all hands on deck. It was literally the call went out, go, go, go. Just, I mean, because just chaos erupted right after that election. And it was just one of those, and I've never seen it, never let up. It was just one of those. And then because I joked around with Chris, I go, if you think about it, okay, Joe Biden gets elected. So did Black Lives suddenly, you know, did everything that happened with the Black Lives Matter, did that suddenly get solved? Because the protests stopped. It was like almost overnight. Everything just stopped. And you could almost see that the call was, okay, we're done. All right, everybody pack it up and go home. And it's just, they just started breaking down because all these things that happened. It's like, why did it suddenly stop? Well, the person that was how the order was back in place. Now the pieces are starting to move like they're supposed to. You know, the geopolitics are going the way they are. So now we don't have to do anything. Now we can just sit back and just let it happen like it was supposed to. I think what we're experiencing now should have been happening under Hillary. But because Trump was put in, we had to have 4 years of the plan was set back. They weren't happy about it. And that's kind of where we're at. And it's just, and I mean, I don't know if you feel like that way, but it seems really weird that all these things that were huge protests under Trump just suddenly stopped the minute he was not reelected.
Well,
I know it's hard.
I'm not a Trump supporter. I will say that.
No, that has nothing to do with that. It's one of those you can just see. It's just like, you know, right. That's what we told Chris. It's like, you know, all this stuff were like these things like the Black Lives Matter movement. Why did that suddenly go away? That was huge. And then, so why did it suddenly stop?
Well, it's not really gone away. I still see Black Lives Matter signs and shirts and things like that. It's just,
but they're just not doing the protests anymore. I mean, it's weird to me. I mean, it seemed like it was a movement that was going, and then all of a sudden it just like died off.
Yeah.
I mean, because you were having rallies all over the place, and all of a sudden, nope. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it's weird.
There's the famous short attention span of the American people.
Yes.
Move on to something else.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Is the thing well known, and that's yeah. I think that's for me. I mean, it's one out of all the stuff. Like when you're here, is you start seeing the connection things. I mean, do I go prescribe to Alex Jones, globalists, that there's like X-Files, like there's some round table where the elite get together and they hatch out the plan? I don't know. Could there be? Yes. The old families from back, think yes, they could be doing it, because we know that when you see stuff like, you go over to the Davos conferences and stuff, these are definitely the power players that are making the decisions.
Oh yeah, I mean the creepy stuff, all the death of Jeffrey Epstein, who I still think was murdered.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And again, nobody's talking about that now. Whatever happened with that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just for the people that doubt it, I mean, you have to ask yourself, what are the odds that the guy that knows all the elites that were involved in this, the child sex rings, he suddenly gets left alone, and the cameras malfunction, the security guards don't know what's going on, and now he's dead. You're like, yeah, this is there. You're like, this doesn't take. Yeah, this I don't. You have to willingly ignore these things to say that this is, that there's nothing suspicious about this. I mean, and then, can we? It's just kind of the same thing. Ghislaine, however you say her. Why is it that we know all these other things, but we could even just do like the same thing, like Mar-a-Lago. We know all these details about this raid of Mar-a-Lago, but we don't know the people that were involved in this Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell thing, other than a select few. I mean, we're talking Hollywood, music stars, CEOs of major corporations, just major, prime ministers, leaders of countries were all involved in child sex, trap, thing. And nobody's talking about it. It's like, they're just like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, this is it's like, okay, great. This person did this, they didn't do this. I'm like, can we quit talking about AOC? Can we quit talking about Mitch McConnell? Can we focus on the fact that Prince Andrew was literally, involved with underage kids, and the Queen was protecting him? But but now that it's gone, I'm like, we have to talk about this. But everybody's like, it's old news.
Exactly.
So it makes you wonder it makes you wonder where his girlfriend or his wife went. They sentenced her, but I haven't heard no more about her. Where has she kind of went away?
Well, she's not. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I'm just, Jeffrey Epstein's just the most recent case. There's literally dozens of people in this book that have died, or that are talked about, that have died mysteriously, going back to the Clinton administration.
Oh yeah, the Clinton kill list. I mean,
and nobody talks about this stuff. That's why this book is important.
Well, it's funny that you said, because I forgot all about that too. Is that saying, the people that discount it, I'm like, we talk about it, like Chris, like when we're at work, if the mechanic that was working on your truck suddenly turns up dead, people are going to be like, oh, that's a tragedy, But then when they find out that the other person that was doing something along with your, with the garbage truck suddenly turns up missing and dead, there should be at some point people trying to put these things together. Like, okay, this is really, this is more than a coincidence. I mean, we've all had deaths in the family. We've all had loved ones pass. We've all had stuff. Who here's had over 70, 80 close acquaintances pass away and die of mysterious circumstances? I don't have one. I don't have a coworker, a former.
He fell out the window.
He shot himself in the back of the head twice. I'm like, who hasn't committed suicide by shooting yourself in the back of the head twice? I mean, come on.
I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah, you see these things and it doesn't make any sense, and you're like, people are just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Democrat staffer, suddenly the brakes fail and he dies. I'm like, you have to start figuring out something is up. I mean, business partners are dying. I mean,
Yeah. You need to be smart about it too, though. I mean, if you begin to get paranoid about it, and this is the danger of QAnon.
Oh yeah.
That stuff's bullshit. But people get so freaked out because there's just enough truth of crap happening that you get suspicious and nervous. And then somebody like the QAnon movement comes along and sucks you in. So you have to be smart. There's all kinds of in this book. Some of this, I hope, is clear that it's bullshit. Some of it's not. MK Ultra, the things the CIA has done and stuff. That's true. But there's other things like here. There's an entry about the idea that President Obama went to Mars to talk to aliens. I hope that your readers are smart enough to realize that that's crap.
Yeah, you have these ones, and it's kind of like, when you go down it, is it possible? Okay, anything's the Stargates. We could have the port. I mean, anything. Yes, true, but it's one of those that you have to put those kind of things in the category of this is over here where there's no evidence. It's a theory. There's absolutely no evidence. We can't. We're not going to go around with placards on, walking down the street saying Obama visited Mars, come clean now. No, nobody in their reasonable mind is going to do that part right now.
Or the royal family is actually alien reptilians in disguise.
Yeah. Like right now, I think that's one. That's why the Queen was in a closed casket, is because they had to ensure that nobody realized that it was just a skin suit, that the lizard, was not there, and so it's going to just be what Men in Black, was it the Edgar suit?
Yes.
So here's this discarded Edgar suit, over. It's like you see, hey, I'm like. We're going to put this off to the side. I'm like, this is going to be the X-Files entertainment. Yes, that's not, that's over here. Yeah. But like the MK Ultra, I mean, it literally, Havana syndrome most likely is something that has come from MK Ultra. That this is actually, something that was developed through MK Ultra.
And there's all kinds of examples that are documented and proven of our friendly government experimenting on people without their knowledge.
And with the conspiracies side too, it's like I've run into this with a few family members and some other people too, and I'm like, you have to understand history. It's like you can't dismiss history. I mean, for anybody that says 9/11, there's no way it could be an inside job. You got to remember, the U.S. government rounded up every Japanese American on the West Coast and put them in internment camps. They're all in concentration camps. They did these things. They have no problem. They STDs in Alabama on black they did these tests. They have no problem doing these things. So is it
the false flag thing? Governments, the USS Maine, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. There's more than one example of these false flags things in order to start wars.
Yeah. So the industrial complex needed a war. They needed a thing to spend money on. What is an easier way to do it than you take if you actually go that way, 9/11, the towers come down, the entire Democrat Republican ceased to exist. At that point, everybody was arm in arm, let's get them. We want, revenge for the fallen. We came together for a while, and in a way, it's like we wrote the check. I mean, that Patriot Act came out of this, and that was one of the largest devourers of our freedoms in itself. Just the Patriot Act, and nobody fought that. Everybody was like, "Oh man, I'm safe now."
President Obama comes along, and I thought, "Oh, surely President Obama is going to do something about the Patriot Act." No, he liked it.
Well, of course, it's like you get all this control. The FISA courts. I explained this to Chris. He didn't realize this. I mean, the wiretaps. You don't understand when it's set up. All I have to do is, I'm just pick a name. I've got Abdul over there that I'm watching. Well, he's called Tom Smith in New York to do something. Well, Tom Smith has talked to a few other people. Well, these warrants now allow the federal government to listen in on all the conversations of all the people that are connected to that through that chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're recording everything. And people are, well, that's not legal. No, it is. It's right there in the whole Patriot Act. It allows them to do these things. It allows them to round up American citizens, remove your ability to fly in a plane without any due process. They can just simply say you're on a no-fly list.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did it to Ted Kennedy, the Senator Ted Kennedy. He was on that for a little while. And like I said, they have these, and it's a no-fly. They just blanket can say, Craig, you're on a no-fly list. You can no longer fly, and I have no recourse. There's nobody I can go to and fight it.
They don't have to explain it to you. You're stuck on a no-fly list, and you don't have no clue why.
They don't. There's no, and that was all done through the Patriot Act. And so when you get to, it's like, well, why would they do that? Well, think about it. What government doesn't want control?
Right. And it's not unique to that situation either. I mean, look at the IRS. If the IRS says you owe them money even though you don't, and they repossess your house and your car and ruin your life, you basically have no recourse.
Nope.
They can, even if you go to court and eventually years from now you prove that you were right, too bad. They've already screwed you over.
They've already seized the property. They've already sold it off. It's gone. You can't get it back.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I mean, it's just, you don't have, and those are some of the rights that are stripped people all the time. They're like, no, they don't. I'm like, no. I remember the time when I could walk up and visit a loved one right at the gate coming off a plane.
Yeah, I do too.
There's nobody after 2000 that remembers this. Everybody's like, what? You could do what? I'm like, yeah, we could walk up, literally walk up, hug our family members as they're coming off the plane. And now
watch old sitcoms or something where they do that,
Yeah, it looks so bizarre. You're like, what? I mean, who did that? And you're like, no, that's how it used to be. That used to be life. And I go, but the Benjamin Franklin quote. It's like people. Everybody was willing to give up freedoms for safety, and in that process, we have neither. I mean, we're not extra safe, and we also now we have less freedoms. I mean, it literally was the epitome of what he said. We did what he warned not to do, and we were just like, oh yeah, just make sure we don't have to worry about it anymore. I mean, there's times you get. I mean, does anybody else have a problem with you have a pair of sewing scissors, and like some sewing, you're getting that confiscated out of your bag, because it's some weapon. You're like, I don't understand this. I really don't get this. Yeah, I'm like, you've got other things you're looking around here. I'm like, I could do more damage with the fork. I mean, I've got in my hand right now that I can with that little pair of scissors. I'm like, I don't get it. You get some of these crazy ones, but there definitely is a lot of stuff that's rooted in, kind of going back to where we were, it's just with history. And I think it's so critical that this book will help with that too, is you've got to remember where we came from, so that way you can prevent it from happening again. Because if you don't, I mean, it doesn't matter who's in power. There's always going to be somebody else that wants more. You go through history of the world. It's always been that way. It is very rare if somebody ever comes in, like George Washington. He was one of the few in history that has said, no, I do not want this power. Right. I'm going home. Right. And that was unheard of, because I mean, we just fought to get rid of the king, and everybody's like, George, we're going to make you king. No, did you guys not understand what we just did? This is not the way to do that. It's like, no, we want to give you this. No, I'm going back to my farm.
Yeah, exactly. The original concept of the founding fathers was you get off your farm, you serve your government for a couple of years, and you go back.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't, this career politician stuff was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to have, I think if Mitch McConnell gets reelected this time, he's going to be the longest serving politician that the U.S. has ever had. I think I remember seeing it. Is it
really?
Yeah, and it's the same. Like Nancy Pelosi's right there. I think she's going on somewhere like the 34, 35, maybe 36 years.
What was that Southern guy who was like in office forever? I forget now.
I think I know who you're talking. The name's failing me too.
Oh, let me see.
Richard Byrd?
Think about it.
Was it Richard Byrd?
He's up there.
If anybody knows, you can post that in the comments.
Oh gosh. Oh, from my area, Dianne Feinstein's been in office forever.
Yeah, and that's one.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. It's like when you see these politicians, it's like after a certain time, there's no way they're doing it for the people. It's all about themselves.
Oh,
At that point, it is.
Yeah, I mean, there really needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people don't like this, but I mean, I'm a huge proponent of, because the president can only be 2 terms, so that's 8 years. I honestly think senators are one and done. I really think a senator, because that's 6 years. You're one and done, and Congress is the same way. It's like you could have, 3 terms, and that's it. Do something like that, and you're done. That's it. You're gone, because you get to this connection thing, and it's just, I'm sorry, when you've had somebody like I said, Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, when you have all these people that have been in here for so long, you know that, I hate to use this, allegedly, they're they're controlled.
Yeah, well, that's why we have gerrymandering, and
Oh God,
that's why we have PACs. And,
I mean, who doesn't? A little picture. I mean, who doesn't think that this is how most congressional districts should look?
Yeah. And that's not a really weird example either. There's like these really thin ones, and some part of them are just one street wide.
Yeah, you'll get these ones where they're just as I said, I'm just they'll be like that one right there. They're just these really bizarre, and the reason they're done is just for that, is because I know, as like a Democrat, I've got to get this urban vote, and so I have to exclude all these rural voters to make sure that I get this one, and then you get the other ones. Well, I need to make sure I have the rural ones and not so many of the votes in the city, so I've got to make sure my district goes all the way around, catches every rural town around this thing, and cuts out the big. And you look at these things, you're like, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is really ridiculous.
You heard about what's going on with the LA City Council?
I've heard. I don't know what's, but go ahead and tell. I haven't heard that.
Everybody was getting so riled up about redistricting that they started tossing about racial slurs, about and this is Los Angeles, where most of the people are Black or Hispanic, and they're throwing around racial slurs about certain people because we don't want them in our district or whatever. And just like,
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Brian put up there, Strom Thurmond.
That's it, Strom Thurmond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was another one of those too, where it's just, you get this this crazy thing, and it's just, and it's I don't know. I mean, it's one of those. It has to come from the people, because that's the only way it's going to happen. There's nobody in Congress or Senate is going to vote themselves out of a job. So it's going to take us taking the power and saying term limits. We have to install term limits.
Have you seen the show, The G Word?
I haven't. I'll write that down. Check that out.
The G Word. The guy who hosts Adam Ruins Everything. He's the guy who hosts this. Anyway, he makes the point at the end of this. It's a short series. At the end of it, that the way to fix it is that start at the local level. City governments, county governments, you have to work your way up. You're not going to change things by trying to start with the president and your congressman. You have to start locally. So if you want to help change things, start at that level.
And that's...
I keep believing... Hi, he's back again.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, wear your apron. I mean, amazing. Yeah, I think that's how it is. I mean, if we really want to do change, like you said, if we really want to fight against these global agendas, these little things, it's like it has to be done at a local level, because I don't think a lot of people realize Your city council becomes a mayor, becomes the district, becomes your district thing to the state. And those ones, then they become congressmen, senators, and then senators, governors, whoever need to, move up. I mean, I'm going to butcher the amendment again. I always do this thing. I want to say it's the 19th. Could be the 17th. It's the one where during Wilson's term, they really botched it up when they made the Senate a national election.
Oh,
It's the
right.
19th.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know we used to not elect our senators. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when you talk about that, people are like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, for anybody that hasn't heard this before, I can give a real summary here. How it used to work, because like right now, we vote for Congress, our Congress House of Representatives and a Senate. Well, there's a lot of times, like in California's case, not so much, but you're going to vote. You vote in a Republican congressman. Well, you have a Democrat senator that cancels each other out. That vote basically is canceled out because that Republican congressman or congresswoman isn't going to vote in lockstep with Feinstein, or it's just that cancels it. Well, how it used to work is we use like the state of Florida here. The governor of Florida appointed 2 representatives to the federal system as representatives for the state of Florida. And the governor became more important because the governor was the one that selected that. The senators were to do the business of the state. The House of Representatives were to do the business for us. The 3 of us, our representative was there because this is the one, Kevin, this is Kevin's passion. This is what Kevin and the rest of my constituents really believe in. This is what I'm fighting for. But the senators were like, we need this water for the state of California. They're not worried about the local stuff, like what Kevin's, concerns are, where I need to make sure I want a park. That's not their concern. They want trade. They were doing the business of California. Well, in comes Wilson, and they make this now to where we're electing it. So now, because it used to be the governor could just say, it's like, Bob, what the hell are you doing? Get your ass back to California. You're done. That's not what I wanted you to do, and they'd recall the senator, yank him back, and they'd appoint another senator and send him back and say, hey, unlike Bob, do what we want you to do, get on the plane, go. And that's how, and it worked. It was a system that worked really well, but you can see now when the things, how it's gone awry, because that's not how this is not how the system is supposed to work. You're supposed to have, the states are literally, we're literally 50 countries that have joined together in a representative government, but we've now made it to where it's, in a way, we've kind of bled that that individual thing out of some of those, out of those states, and just made it to where now it's just, you got these 2 gross bodies that just literally both of them don't even listen to the people anymore. And that's, not, how about that for a conspiracy?
Well, now we're just basically talking about flaws in politics more than conspiracies, but it's basically the larger movement. As I think it was Ben Franklin who said, when somebody asked him what's going to happen with the republic, he said, well, in about 200 years it'll fall apart. So what are we, 260 or something like that? It's falling apart.
We've kind of, Eisenhower really said it best, and that was part of the thing. The military industrial complex was a really, and that really, that really ties into it too, because that was one where, and you can really see how it controls everything. Rumsfeld, right before, going back to 9/11, he goes September 10th, he mentions trillions of dollars are unaccounted for in the Pentagon, and just happened to be the records area of the Pentagon gets hit.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm like, is that,
there's
you
another
bring
thing
that up?
There's another thing that people aren't talking about that came out a couple of years ago when they said, where are all those trillions of dollars? Have you heard anything about it recently? No.
It's just, it blows up, and you're just, and you have those things like, we'll get on 9/11 here for a little bit. We need to do a show on it, because it's one of those things. it melts the towers. They come, if you go up the official story, it melts the tower, it comes down, the thing. But yet a plane supposedly hits the Pentagon and you see papers just flying just floating around. I was like, shouldn't those have burned up? I'm just saying, it was supposedly burned hot enough to melt the steel. I'm pretty sure all that paper should just be gone, just magically gone. And then the guard shack video as it goes by, I'd like somebody to explain to me how they still believe that that's a commercial airliner flying past that guard shack. It's this little thing that flies across the screen, and then you see boom, and there's no wreckage anywhere. It's just this hole. I'm pretty sure it's a cruise missile.
And what, a third building falls down, but nothing hit it.
Yeah, and the guy that owned it miraculously, a couple weeks prior, took out insurance.
Yeah,
in the to cover the cost if something happened to the building.
When anything blows up, like a space shuttle or something like that, or rocket, they usually try to get it and piece it all back together. You would think they would be trying to piece some of the little jet parts they found. I mean, I don't know. That's
it's one of those things that it kind of goes in the conspiracies, because it's really easy to dismiss anybody that brings up these things. It's really easy for everybody to dismiss it as you're God, seriously, why do you want this? Why do you want the government to have killed Americans so badly? It's like, that's not it. It's literally a question. It doesn't make sense.
And the pilots were trained in the U.S. The pilots learned to fly at U.S. Pilot schools.
I brought up to Chris. He didn't know this part. It's like, why did we fly out the Laden family? Get them out of the country. It's a no-fly thing. Things are shut down. We loaded up his family on planes and got them out of the country. Now, and so you're like, and I'm like, if I suddenly get a U-Haul and I go blow something up, I go, there's no agency that's getting my family and flying them out of country. It's like, everybody's like, all right, you're coming with me. What did you know? When did you know it? Who did you talk to? Like I said, it's a full interrogation. These people were like, no, we got to get them out of the country now. And you're like, and I think a lot of people fail to understand that he was a CIA agent fighting the Russians, which is, I think you've talked about was the Iran-Contra one in here too?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people, like in those ones, a lot of people don't understand. It's like the US and Russia have never stopped being at war. It was always proxies.
Yeah.
I mean, Obama's term, you had ISIS versus and it looks like we were actually funding, and actually supplying some of the ones like Al Qaeda and stuff, because they were fighting, in Syria against Russia and Assad's regime, which is what they were doing our bidding. Well, imagine that they turn on us, as Bin Laden did in Afghanistan. And it's just, the conspiracy one, I don't know if I've ever said this on air. I'll say this one here. I'm thinking, because you remember Bush when he was sitting there reading the children's stories?
Uh-huh.
Everybody mocked, it's like, look at the dumb look on his face, when the agent talks in his ear. I'm convinced that it wasn't, sir, the towers have been hit, and that's what his reaction was. I think that was, if you go with this stuff, I believe that was the plan. I think what it was is when he came up and said there's more, that Osama bin Laden went too far. He actually went rogue and did more than he was supposed to do. And now you had these two other airliners. There's only supposed to be 3. And I think now there was 5. And so now you have these 2 rogues that are out there and I think that's where Flight 93 was shot down, because I believe that one was going to be headed towards the Capitol.
Right. It wasn't shot down. It was taken down, I thought.
Yeah. Well, it's based off the pattern, because the record is so small. I'm pretty sure it was shot down, that the guys on the flight, they were trying to take back the plane. Like, all that occurred. But I think what happened is they didn't realize that there was some jets scrambled and it was shot down, because when you see it, because every other wreckage, whether I think it was the Lockerbie bombing, and just you see there's big, huge chunks of fuselage everywhere. Wings, tail. There's all these pieces here. Flight 93, it's just this tiny little chunks just spread out all over the place. I mean, it looks like it was an explosion and then just rained down little pieces.
Yeah.
And same way with the Pentagon.
I have a friend who lost his daughter on Lockerbie. So
yeah. And and that's kind of thing. And if you see that, there's large chunks of the plane that are available, and that's Pentagon. It's not there. Flight 93. It's not there. It's like, where are these large pieces of the plane? They're not there. Right. It should be there. If it crashed, this should be here. You should see broken up sections of the plane. But it's like, where did this go? And that's why I'm like, and so I really held true to that. Jaron, what's going on here is we are talking deep dive into conspiracies and secret societies, the complete dossier of hidden plots and schemes. How about that for a plug? There we go. That helped out. Yeah, I think, we get on, because we don't want to just spend all show talking about 9/11 here. That's one of those, grand conspiracies where you can really go.
Sure.
You can really get to the QAnon thing. I mean, because like where you talk about QAnon, I mean, to me, the one that I thought was the craziest one was where JFK Jr. was still alive and he was going to be making his appearance any day now to show that he's, and you're just like, you're like, why now? If this is the thing, I mean, because and that's where he said, it's like some things are rooted in some fact and people take it too far, because he was, by all things, Anthony Bourdain, Chester Benningfield, just these guys look like they were getting ready to really crack open stuff about the sex rings in Hollywood, TV, music industry, and both of them suddenly. I think it was Soundgarden. Was it Soundgarden? The artist, the lead singer that he committed suicide too. But it looked like he was. I want to say, you're muted, Chris.
No, I was saying allegedly committed suicide too.
Well, no, he committed suicide, but yeah, it's just where it's like suspicious where some of these people seem like they really had it together, and then all of a sudden, just boom, they committed suicide, and it looks like. By the thing is, I think they're talking about JFK Jr. was that he was kind of starting to, like he was going to kind of break this open too, and then all of a sudden the plane crash happened, the helicopter crash, and that's, we
do have a section on musicians' deaths in here. I forget where it is now. There's a list of musicians who have died under various circumstances. Here we go.
Yep.
Good musicians. Jimi Hendrix, Elvis Presley, Tupac, Biggie Smalls. Oh, that's all we cover in that one. There's more.
Chris Cornell. There we go.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Jaron. Yeah, Chris Cornell. Yeah, this is one of those. He really seemed to, because I think he'd been battling depression and stuff too, but he really seemed to be on the path. Like he was really, it was under control and stuff like that. And just all of a sudden it was just like out of nowhere, boom, commit suicide. That was always a rumor. And that kind of goes back to the whole Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell thing, where a lot of people aren't talking about it. And I think it's one of those, it's either, I think, fear that you're going to get Epsteined, it's just like I said, if you go into it, but it's it really for me, it's just one of those things. It's just, no matter what's going on, Ukraine, Russia, or this stuff, it's like, I don't understand why people just refuse to look at the borders and see that child, and just sex trafficking is going rampant. And, it's just like, it's like, that needs to be stopped. I mean, I don't know anybody that's listening, anybody that's on the show here with us right now, that anybody that doesn't have a problem with stopping sex trafficking.
Right.
And so why is this nobody cares? It's like literally nobody cares about it. They're just like, they would rather fight between the D and the R or the independent. They'd rather focus on this stuff when you're like, that's been, we're going to take the We're going to take the real crazies out of the ones that are, the blatant, Mexicans go home. Those ones are just, those people. Unfortunately, those are the ones that are on CNN.
Mhm.
You don't hear from the people. It's like, I mean, my point is, I want them to have visas so that way they can work. Make it just easily come over here and work. If they want to work in the fields, if they want to do something like that, make the money, take it home. I don't. That's great. They're doing something. They're making money. They're going to live their life. That's what they want to do. But do you think we can stop taking the 8 and 9-year-olds across the border so that way they can go to Epstein's Island? Do you think we can stop that?
But before you get too far, right? Let's just say, the new sheriffs that have been big on cracking down on sex trafficking, if they make it into Congress or Senate or the White House, and it just all of a sudden comes to a stop. You've got to wonder what they told them. Don't get Epstein now, this goes on at our meetings or whatever the case may be, because you have some sheriffs that are really gung-ho on stopping sex trafficking, stopping all the stuff. And then it seems like they do make it to the next level, but their whole focus is on something else.
Right.
I would wager a lot of it comes from also the Fed side, because just like anything, like in a police force, anybody that's listening that's part of that could probably verify, when you're in the process of doing an investigation and the Feds come up and say, hey, leave that alone. We're currently, that's a department, that's a DOJ investigation right now. You're like, just don't worry about Bob. Just let Bob go. Just let him go. He's, we're watching him now. And it's because somebody, what was it? I think, was it the CIA that had the child porn on their computers?
I know that one.
Yeah, it was just, you're like, this was on government computers, and these things, and you're just like, these things, you're like, I don't get it. Yeah, I know, I get that. I was just using that as an example, because it was real quick, because everybody thinks about when they're coming over the border. I was throwing it, especially like Southern California. It's like they're coming right there just because laborers, it's jobs. They're making money. I have no problem with that. I go, make that easy. I go, but we've got to do better. We've got to do better by our kids. This is just, it was one of the, how much evidence do you need to have? That list. We're talking, there are some major people. I go, and nobody's talking about it. There's a lot of companies that control devices that we may be currently broadcasting on, that are involved in this thing. And it's just, and nobody wants to talk about it. You talk about a grand conspiracy. It's the people involved that are keeping this quiet. It's everybody, royal family. It's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, it's one of those, but yeah, we got to get, I was looking right here, just everything. Just the Kennedy death list. That was, that was really fascinating too. I didn't even, because it was really before my time. Yeah. And I didn't even really know a lot about these ones too. It's just, that's on I have a show on the Knights Templar tomorrow on another show, and I used the book for part of the research on that. So
cool.
Just another plug. So that's why I tell people, I go, it's really, I just put on, that's the other one. What's your take on the colliders, the Large Hadron Colliders?
I don't think that's a problem, honestly.
yeah. As I said, do you think that there's something, because there's the one in Chicago it's really weird. They end up, every time they fire it up, they have these crazy storms.
Well, I think I don't know. I think a large part of, for example, research was really going apace on fusion research. All of a sudden, it stopped. All their funding was stopped because they were getting close to solving the fusion problem and providing lots of energy to everybody at low costs and everything like that. And now that they're stopped. Same thing with things like particle research and stuff like that. I think things like rumors like they're going to create a black hole and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just to stop scientific research. That's not profiting people.
Yeah, what was it? Edison and Westinghouse says, if you can't put a meter on it, we're not interested because we got to make money. You got to make money because free energy there's no money.
That's why they destroyed Tesla's career.
Yeah. Oh God. The stuff that we're enjoying right now.
Tesla's in here too. Tesla's in there too.
I'm trying to remember what page that was on. Yeah, because you want to talk about a guy that it's just, Donald Trump's, was it father or uncle? That, that he was the one that was involved in going through Tesla's research and seeing if there was anything there.
Oh,
when when they went through and they collected the information. So, so you look at here, it's like, even the guy that was the outsider was still connected to the whole thing. It's like everybody is like it's like this whole thing is like this connection. It's crazy when you actually start going into it. And Brian said the uncle, when you have the collider, they made antimatter. That had to be crazy. Just when you create the antimatter and you have that instant just explode. I think it was like a miniature explosion of it when it made contact with matter and just canceling it out. That has to be something. I don't know if they were able to record that, happening, but that had to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Brian said that Trump's uncle was the first on the scene and he supposedly took all the good stuff back for the thing. That was one of the, but that's one of those. I can't remember if that was if that was in here or not. I can't remember.
I don't think it is, but maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to.
I can't
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you said you even cover the in here the Nashville bombing. And that was another weird one too, where that's the same thing where just the guy supposedly does it, but there just happens to be the crucial pieces of evidence is what's left over, and they just left behind. It's you have one of those things that just it's like Project Looking Glass is a really good one too, and that's but that's one of those as we're running out of time here, but it's just everybody you got to pick up this book. You are not going to be sorry. It's Nazi UFOs, nativism, Fukushima. It even talks about, I think M.A. Allen was on there. Yeah, it's in here. They cover HARP, the weather machine. The only one I don't think it's on here, and I think it's actually, I think it's one of my funniest conspiracies, and maybe it is, and I missed it. Birds aren't real. Have you heard about that one?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's in here, no.
No, oh my God. That has to be one of those.
That's a joke, Chris, isn't it? Right?
No, these guys are serious. There's the people that are literally serious that all.
I thought it was an ongoing joke or satire.
Yeah, I thought it was just like something like a startup. But I know some people that they honestly are. It's almost like the QAnon thing. They've gone down to this thing, and they've literally convinced themselves that birds are charging themselves on. That's why they land on power lines. Is that's how they charge, and that's the whole reason why they land on power lines. Is that's how they charge themselves, and they're government drones. I'm like, okay,
the lines are insulated first of all.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, so we're just gonna go through this thing, but it's like, so the easiest way to solve this thing, somebody could even go through. It's like you would be able. Do you know the massive amount of quantities of materials to make each one of these drone birds? I'm just like, their thing is they actually, you actually see it, and they're talking like all birds. I'm like, no, I'm like, we have egrets here. I love those things. I think they're cool to watch. They're dumb as a box of rocks. Man, those things they just look up there and all of a sudden they just give you this side eye, and then they just start pecking at the plants, trying to get the lizards. They're not very intelligent.
No, they're still looking at you while they're pecking the lizards. They're drones.
I know, it's like
operated by a remote.
So somebody failed in that design plan. But oh my God,
let me tell you about at a zoo I used to work at, an ostrich got his head stuck between a fence post and a building, and pulled and literally pulled his head off.
Oh
The
my
keeper
god!
found him the next morning, decapitated himself because his head got stuck. So yeah, brilliant.
Oh,
You didn't see the wires coming out of his neck. You just seen a decapitated.
No wires, just blood and organs and things.
yeah. That's what Brian was like. If all birds are drones, and I'm a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, I know that actually is one of those ones where, I think for me at the longest time, I always had the hard time wrapping my head around the flat Earth. Where the Earth is flat. It just, and then when I saw the birds aren't real one, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that one takes a cake.
What about
I go that.
Do you hunt ducks? I mean,
yeah, yeah. I'm literally, guys. I mean, it's when you're you look around here. I mean, we just went to KFC. I'm not eating a robot. I don't understand this. I and then you ask them, it's like, so are only some birds not real? And then they're like, no. And you see these people. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, the flat Earth ones, the flat Earth and stuff. This really
actually leads into a different conspiracy. Our education system, public education system, is deliberately designed to make people stupid, so they're easily controlled.
Oh, so, yeah.
I'm really buying into that. That's the first time I've heard of that one, but I'm buying into it because my son gets the answers for the math problem, but he just don't know how to go in and work it out like they want him to. So you can fail every test because you know the answer, but you can't go in there and figure out how to work simple division that takes a whole formula that you don't need to get to the answer.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. I hate the way they teach math now.
And I
could do it in 2 steps and take some 74,000 steps to do it.
And they took spelling words out of school. My wife says, so why don't we spell anymore? They said, oh, they won't remember it anyway, so we don't do spelling tests. We don't do none of that. I'm like, well, how are the kids supposed to know how to spell? He can read, but can he still spell? So
you know the great result of a spell check. One time I was watching a news item on CNN about violence in the Middle East, and the terrorists were apparently throwing Mazel Tov cocktails. Could have passed spell check.
Yeah.
Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov. That is awesome. Oh my God. No, it's Common Core is brutal. That one, when that first came out, I fought against that one. I mean, especially when the people that were behind it, their pitch to especially the people is like, all right, so in the beginning, your kids are going to seem dumber. You're like, that's your starting pitch for this thing. Your kids are going to seem dumber, but eventually they're going to, and you're like, so wait a minute, the adage, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I've got a straight A student. And so now you're going to teach them this thing, which is going to suddenly put them into a C or D because they don't know how to do it. Right. They don't. And now you're supposed to tell me I'm supposed to be happy with this. But
it's okay. If they fail their grade, they pass them to the next grade anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it is. Well, because it really doesn't. I mean, I'm a big, like the way you said it is exactly that thing. I'm convinced that's why they don't teach cursive anymore. It's because if you don't know your history, you can't read founding documents. You can't read historical documents that are written in cursive. I asked my son I asked my son right now to read something in cursive. He's gonna be like, I don't know how to read that because they don't teach him how to read cursive.
Yeah.
And so they're going to see this thing. It looks like a foreign. It might as well be written in Arabic or Chinese characters because they don't understand. They're like, I don't know what this says.
Yeah. And as soon as you can't read history, can't understand history, then you're easily made into a tool. Yeah,
exactly. And like I said, but the math was frustrating. I mean, I told my son at one point, I'm like, listen, look, I'm going to teach you how to do it the real way. I don't care what the teacher says.
Yeah.
This is a thing. We're not going to be breaking down this into groups of 5s and 10s and, do the 1s and no. Yeah. I go, it is super simple. 7 times 6, 42. You're going to put the numbers down here. You're going to carry it. You're going to go out here. You're going to position everything. You're going to add it up and you're done. That's how math is done. We're not going to do these 75 steps. I go, the best was that video. I don't know if you saw it. They showed the teacher explained Common Core, was doing the problem. They wrote the problem out, solved it, went, brewed a pot of coffee. The coffee was brewing. They got it here. They poured up the cup of coffee. They went down, they sat, and they just started drinking the coffee. And then the person that was showing the Common Core thing solved the problem. They're like, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
3 minutes to do something that you should be able to do, 10, 15 seconds. And it's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. I'm just,
I'm glad I went to school. I'm glad I went to the schools in the 70s, because I would not want to be a student now. And you sound like a great parent, because you're teaching your kids, they spend the time to teach them how to do it right.
Well, that's you have to. I said, it's, Chris is, man, he's blessed, man. He's got 2 kids that love school, and that's the thing.
Yeah. And back when I was a little kid, my mom taught me how to read and how to do basic math. So that was a big boost for me when I got to grade school.
No, it's critical. I mean, they don't even teach kids handwriting really anymore.
Yeah.
It's everything's text to speech, type it out, do something on the computer. A lot of them, so it's like even my son right now, it's like, I'm like, son, we got to work on this handwriting. This is horrible. I'm just, I like, it is, and that's not something that's a focus anymore. And it makes, I'm sure, like me, it makes me feel like this old codger, like, back in my day, we used to have to write pages, and it's.
What are they going to do when they have to sign a contract or something? They can't do cursive. Are they just going to print their name or put?
They literally print their name now. Like you said,
a lot of the computer e-sign. It's basically you type.
You can do e-sign.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, like a lot of people.
It makes it a lot easier to forge stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, like for me, this is how now that's how a lot of people do their signatures now. Where like for me, I learned it in the casino, when I was doing a lot of stuff, I had to sign a bunch of stuff. That's my signature. Yeah. And that's
they've treated like Donald Trump, his signature's wacko.
Yeah, we got a guy at work too. He does it. It's a money sign for the S. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's just like it's a bunch of up and down stuff like that. He had this money sign. I'm like, I've always liked it. I'm like, that's pretty cool. It has character. I mean, whether you love him or hate him or what, you have to say Donald Trump's signature is very distinctive. I mean, it's like you see it and you're like, exactly, you see it and you're like, I mean, that's quite the signature. I mean, it's, but you get some of those ones. I think Obama has a really cool one too. If I'm not mistaken. I think the way he does the O, it's pretty cool, on those ones too. So so, I mean, everybody, Visible Ink Press, this is available Amazon. You can also go directly to the site. You can pick this up. Is there, and that's visibleinkpress.com. You can get there and definitely take the time, plug the company, plug the stuff, stuff that you guys did, take some time there. Like I said, we want to give you guys as much exposure as we can. So yeah, who do you want to plug? I said, I mean, up and coming books. I mean, I don't care. You, like I said, the floor is yours. Plug away, sir. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, you did. I wasn't prepared for that one. Hold on just a second.
Oh no, you're good.
We got books on witches. There's one on the serial killer next door. It's all about serial killers you might not have heard of, that how they live their private lives. Got a book coming up on the Handy Supreme called the Handy Supreme Court Answer Book. So all about the Supreme Court.
Oh, nice. And then, speaking of while you're talking about that too, little side note, you guys have a potential major serial killer in the making going on right now in California. They think possibly victim number 6 was killed. There's somebody, I want to say it's Stockton.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a 6th guy that's the 6th victim that was killed, and they put I mean, I don't know how you're going to go off of it. They're like, does anybody knows any information? And it's the back. It's a shot of the back. Somebody it looks like they're wearing a hoodie, but it's just a shot of them walking away, and that's what they have, and that's the potentially like person of interest. But yeah, it looks like California. It's like you guys have got another serial killer and major serial killer in the making. Yeah. So congratulations.
Oh,
Where do you go from there? I was like, I'm sorry, congratulations. Just like,
glad I don't live in Stockton.
yeah, this is going to be great for show prep, book writing. Yeah. So, yeah, you might. Visible Ink Press may have a book about this guy. This guy, or most likely isn't a girl, because they typically don't put the profiles of the violent.
There's a
stalking.
couple female serial killers. A couple of them.
Yeah, they're usually some other thing, but they typically, like I said, we had Richard Estep, this one, Mark Shaker and stuff. We've had a few of them, and so it seems to be the thing that they don't typically do the whole stalking and actually like go out and capture the victims.
Yeah.
VisibleInkPress.com. Go check him out. Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I hope you had a good time. I said,
yeah, I did. Thanks for having me here.
Oh yeah, you guys are more than welcome. Send books our way anytime. Like I said, we'd love to review them. I mean, it's like I said, stuff on witchcraft, everything from witchcraft. I mean, those
stuff on
ones,
witchcraft, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was really fascinating. Like I said,
we got an update on the werewolf book coming up too.
Yeah. We haven't done a show on werewolves, so I said that would be one that we definitely have to do. So there's, but that's definitely something like, so we're more than happy. So just you guys, anytime, just, hit us up. It's like, we've got this. Would you guys be interested? And most likely the answer is going to be yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll contemplate it for a second. Are you guys interested? Yes.
Well, hopefully next time it'll be the author of the book, and they won't be dead yet.
Oh,
or undead.
I'm waiting on Craig to be a good Samaritan and have that book shipped to me. Your book. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I'm waiting on Craig to send it to me.
Well, he refuses to buy them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got I've got all these
complimentary copy there.
Yeah, this one was, yes.
Yeah,
that was the one you guys sent.
Yeah.
That's one. It's like blood of the books I've got behind me. It's like I can show you the Amazon receipts.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those. So, but definitely, but appreciate you coming on. Like I said, best love of the family. Like I said, let you get back to them. Thanks for sharing. Still nice, and looks like you still have the sun up there, so you still got time to go out and enjoy the sun before it goes down completely. So, all right, thanks again, man. Good job on the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very nicely done.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. This episode was brought to you by threebeardspodcast.com. We are still trying to find a sponsor, so that's going to happen one of these times. It's going to happen. Has to happen. So, I mean, I don't know how many things I can plug. Somebody's got to bite. I mean, I've got, I'm constantly, McDonald's. I mean, come on. I mean, I said we're not asking for thousands of dollars for sponsorship here. I mean, we're talking pennies. It's just like, come on, somebody. But yeah, everybody, just appreciate the support that everybody get. Just make sure you check us out on social media, like, subscribe, share it. It's like we really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for the stars that sent it. That really helps us out as well. Funding these things. We definitely got some stuff. You've seen our intros and stuff and our outros, and that's done with the money that we've gotten from support. So we really appreciate that. Go to threebeardspodcast.com or redbubble.com /3beardspodcast, and you can buy merchandise there. And then that's another way too. But like I said, main thing, like you guys have been doing, comment, share. Like I said, really appreciate it. Go to visibleinkpress.com, buy the book, buy it, show them, let them know you got it here. Remember, Conspiracies and Secret Societies. I mean, it is, like I said, it's not filler stuff. I mean, it is page after page. Tons of, for this pictures, there's tons of pictures to go with it. So so check that out. But everybody have a great night. We are going to be back next week with another book author. We're going to be talking with her. So, ERT Radio, we are rebroadcast over there every 11 p.m. on Wednesday. And we're in the works. We might be on another radio network as well. So we're in the works of trying to get that there too. We're not sure what's going on. We're not sure what's going on with Patreon. We can't log into our account right now. It's, so we'll get that figured out. So, but that's one of those crazy things. But everybody, thanks for watching. I said, go support them, please. And Kevin, thanks again, man. Have a great night, everybody. We will see you next week. Do this again. Good night.
Yeah.